Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Backlash After Hours. I'm your host, David J. Reilly, here for a special day before Thanksgiving show. Rebecca is off with her family. You know, Cameron is doing whatever Cameron is doing. And I figured I'd drop in and say hi and give you a little bit of an update. It's been a while since we've talked. Lots been going on. We had an election up here. There have been some scandals that have come to light about our friends over at Zionist Candlelight Christian Fellowship that we have to discuss. And there's some economic stuff that I wanted to talk about with you too. So let's get into it. Without any further ado, please make sure that you are following us on Twitter at Real Backlash. Make sure you visit our website, thebacklash.net. And it does help us so much when you subscribe to us on Subscribestar, Patreon, when you send us super chats throughout the week when we do our normal shows. And make sure, please, that you are following us on all of our platforms: Rumble, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok. We are absolutely everywhere. So please make sure you are following along for that as well. Got to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors, but I'll save that for as we get a little bit further along. There's been some news stories, a little bit of scandal going on, I guess, based on certain people's sponsorship deals on X. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. So anyway, all right, let's get into this. So if you've been watching my Dark Dave episodes, these little solo shows, I don't know what you want to call them, we've been talking a lot about Christian Zionism, dispensationalism. We've done, I think, 3 videos so far talking about this local church, their grip on politics, how they are getting involved with the local Republican Party. They're running people for precinct committeemen. They're passing these resolutions for Israel, and we support them, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And so we've been kind of exposing some of that. We had J.D. Hall on the show to talk and to really dismantle Christian Zionism, that it's a heresy, that it's wrong, whether you're Catholic or Baptist. It's a brand new development in, Christian theology that took place in the 1800s with John Darby. And then we did an episode about how these Zionist types from Candlelight Christian Church set us up. They called cops on us when we tried to do a little meet and greet, trying to put the pressure on Dan Gukin, the new mayor of Coeur d'Alene. He was hosting a campaign event at like a taco stand or whatever. And so we thought that we could come out and ask some questions, do some networking, meet each other. And these Christian Zionists called the cops on us and filed a false police report. And so that's kind of brought us up to where we are now. If you've missed any of those episodes, please make sure that you check our YouTube page because they're all there. We actually even have a nice little playlist, After Hours with Dave. And so
Stephanie Fetzer.
Oh, shut up. I don't like the sound of that guy's voice. So anyway, we've got the episodes there for you. You can get to all of that stuff on YouTube. But here's the big thing, right? So there was an election. Candlelight threw their weight behind Dan Gukin. Everybody was pissed. Everybody was freaking out. And it's just really incredible. In response to some of the podcasts that we've done here, Paul, on what day was this? November 10th. Paul got up on the pulpit and he proclaimed to his audience of people that the people attacking Candlelight, i.e. me, the people attacking Candlelight are hurting families. Oh, they're hurting families. They're hurting children. Let's take a look. We've got the clip right here.
Because we actually love you. Are we frustrated with you? Yes. Are you hurting people? Yes. All the attacks against Candlelight or against me, you're really not hurting me. You're hurting the people that attend this church. You're hurting families. You're hurting children. My own grandson had to answer a bunch of questions from his schoolmates yesterday because of all the noise out there. I just want to go on record. We love you. We care about you. We want you to understand the gospel of grace and respond to it and inherit the kingdom and the blessings of the kingdom.
Okay. I mean, calling out dispensational theology as a heresy, pointing out its origins, pointing out the political connections that they have here in North Idaho and throughout the state, this stranglehold on the public discourse that these Christian Zionists have, pointing that out is hurting children. Okay. That might have meant something if it was coming from somebody who, I don't know, didn't condone the murder of innocent women and children in Gaza, which we've covered on the show. We played the clip before. I won't play it again. I will play it again.
And I
Screw
saw
it.
with
Here we
my
go.
eyes what is actually going on over there, not what we're reading about or hearing about in the media.
Right.
And I think, and this for the record, I know that we may disagree here. And David, please, you and I can disagree about a lot of things agreeably, I think. When I see what Israel is doing, I think they have every reason to do it. And I would do more. If it were me, I would do more. Because I would be telling them, give us back our hostages or you're dead.
Dead.
And they keep saying, you're attacking our babies. Then give us back our hostages and we'll stop.
Right there. You're attacking our babies. Well, give us back our hostages and we'll stop. So we will attack your children. We will attack your babies until we get what we want. This is the message that Paul Van Noy has been preaching to his flock, if you will. That this prophet has been prophesying to his flock. But then the moment that those of us in the community that see what's been going on, that see the political pressure, that see how these people have been setting people up, calling the cops on them, reporting them to the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, the moment that we react, the moment that we call attention to what has been going on with this church, all of a sudden, you're hurting families. You're hurting my grandchildren. And this is the same group of people that canceled me and has prevented me from being able to work in political consulting, which is hurting my children. They don't care if we starve. They don't care if I have to go to a food bank or something because he's an anti-Semite. You see, that's how this works. They just dehumanize people. They label lynch you. And then they write you off as basically non-human. That's how these Christian Zionists think. That's how the Jewish Zionists think too. They think that the Palestinians aren't even humans. And so I just find it very ironic, isn't the word, cosmically providential, maybe, that just a few days after this video dropped of Paul talking about how criticizing candlelight is hurting children, none other than his own daughter got on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, with some unbelievable accusations. And we alluded to this on the show this week, and now we're going to get into it. So I'm going to read this for you. This is from Danielle Van Noy, Paul Van Noy's daughter. I am writing this in response to being sent clips of my father, Paul Van Noy, speaking publicly online about my personal life and faith. Allow me to clarify, no, I have not renounced my faith. I have, however, renounced religion, particularly the type of religion promoted by my father that misconstrues faith, truth, and love, perverting these concepts into instruments of control for personal and financial gain. Since my father has chosen to comment publicly on the dynamics of our private relationship in a widely available recording, I believe it's appropriate for me to share my reasons for separation. I chose to separate myself from my father and his leadership after years of pleading with him to take the offenses of sexual abusers inside and outside his church more seriously. My father failed to protect me when I was young, choosing instead to favor the offenders. His decision to make an excuse for the behavior directly contributed to the further abuse of another young member of his church many years later. I learned of this second incident while undergoing active treatment for 2 types of breast cancer. If my father, Pastor Paul Van Noy of Candlelight Fellowship Church, would not protect his own child, nor take adequate measures to protect a child in his congregation, I must question what other serious offenses he might permit or overlook. Instead of confronting the child abuse and sexual misconduct that arose from his failure to act, my father has chosen silence. He has refused to face his role in the ongoing pattern of abuse within certain church environments today. From not reporting known abusers and instead referring to them as friend, to questioning and manipulating victims rather than supporting them, he has not demonstrated a commitment to necessary change. Instead, he has worked with and employed other pastors who have also been known to cover up child sex abuse. My father publicly condemns so-called evil and sexual promiscuity in people outside the bounds of his church and faith, while consistently dismissing or covering up such misconduct in his own house. I believe the people who attend or otherwise interact with my father and his church deserve to know this truth. My father has consistently used his platform as a means of control, often in divisive rather than unifying ways. He touts his ability to lead, tell the truth, and to use discernment, but he does so without humility, displaying a high level of confidence and arrogance. My personal experience confirms that his public persona does not align with public reality. No doubt my faith has been hard fought after a lifetime of witnessing a faith leader, my father, behave in this manner. I share these facts with the utmost love for my father and the greater Coeur d'Alene community, not out of disrespect. I wish with everything that my father would have taken the initiative to show how he is holding himself and others accountable for their mistakes and actively changing the culture that enables harm. I forgive my father and my abusers. Like my father, I believe that what is done in darkness should be brought to light. Unlike him, I believe that telling the truth, even when it doesn't serve a religious or political agenda or persona. I hope my father understands my reasons for needing to come forward and my willingness to tell the truth, even if I anticipate that he will not. For verification, included below are relevant links along with my father's words of admission to these things in a text sent on my birthday, July 7th, 2025. Now here's the text message. Very personal stuff here. And it's interesting, she was born at 7:07 p.m. I was born at 7:07 p.m. Or it could have been a.m., I guess, but 7:07. It's just a very interesting thing, I pick up on little things. It's just funny. Anyway, so, they've been estranged. Paul and his daughter have been estranged, and this has not been private knowledge. He's talked about it publicly. He's preached about it at the pulpit, hence why she tweeted this out. But in this text message here, we'll get into it. He says, quote, "I am sorry that I did not protect you from Jacob Saldana, and that by failing to do so allowed for others to be deeply hurt by him." Now, this is where it gets interesting, because she provides some proof here in a follow-up tweet on this thread. Pastor Bob Davis of North Country Chapel in Post Falls, Idaho, was the one who brought my father, Paul Van Noy, to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Davis failed to report his youth pastor, Anthony Iglesias, to authorities after learning that Iglesias allegedly molested children in Thailand. Davis was legally required to report the abuse, but his inaction allowed the abuser to continue in ministry. There's some articles there. Pastor Ray Duran and other representatives of Calvary Chapel knew that Pastor Anthony Iglesias engaged in inappropriate behavior with children, according to a lawsuit. Despite his knowledge, Iglesias was employed in youth ministries where he allegedly sexually abused children. Pastor Ray Duran, a named party in the lawsuit, was employed and working at Candlelight Christian Fellowship in 2014, and he was giving sermons at the church as late as 2019. His sermons are still available online at Candlelight, and there's a screenshot of one of his sermons. She goes on, Paul Van Noy was aware of the instances of abuse by Jacob Saldana dating back to the early 2000s, but he was still welcomed into the church and the pastor's house until at least 2019. And of course, we have here a screenshot of how he was charged with lewd conduct with a child under 16. That's a felony. That's a felony. That's pedophilia. That's disgusting. That should not be covered up. That's a crime. And not only is it a crime, it's a crime if you knew about it and you didn't tell the police. Especially if you are in a field like being a minister or a doctor or a psychiatrist. They are mandatory reporters. So not only is the sexual abuse a crime, but failing to report the sexual abuse is also, from what I understand, a crime. Moving on. Pastor Glenn Cole was Paul Van Noy's pastor in his early life around the time that the abuse occurred. He also studied under Cole's leadership. And it says here that the lawsuit alleges that Pastor Glenn Cole and other senior officials had knowledge of sexual assaults. However, they chose to respond with a cover-up. Her tweet thread continues. Candlelight Christian Fellowship owns the skating rink called Skate Plaza, adjacent to the church that is frequented primarily by young children, and instances of abuse have occurred there, according to Danielle. Let's see. What's this? At the time of the assault in December 2019, the man was being watched by Coeur d'Alene police who were investigating a child molestation case at Skate Plaza. So there you go. Don't take your kids to Skate Plaza. They allow sexual abusers there. Unbelievable. Continuing with this thread, we'll wrap this up real quick. This is the last tweet. Paul Van Noy is also connected to Rob McCoy. Rob McCoy is, of course, very involved with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. So this thread, here, I'll pull it all back up so you can see this big, substantial thread coming from Paul Van Noy's daughter on November 20th. This is 10 days after Paul Van Noy gets up on stage and says that criticizing Candlelight Church is hurting families. It's hurting children. And meanwhile, he covered up the sexual abuse of his own daughter. Think about that. If somebody sexually abused my daughter, they would be dead and I would be in jail. There's no way around it. If anybody ever touched any of my kids, I would fucking kill them. No second thoughts about it. This is your duty as a father, to protect your children. And we live in a society that allows sexual abusers to get off with light sentencing. We just saw there was an article in Washington State about how judges over there are going to be giving light sentencing to people abusing minors. This is the fucked up world that we live in. And so, this isn't a surprise to me. Does it surprise me, Dave Reilly, that the pastor of a Zionist church would cover up the sexual abuse of his own daughter? Well, that is surprising. But that he would cover up sexual abuse, that isn't very surprising to me, actually. And I'll tell you why. Jeffrey Epstein. That's why. Because that's how this works. That's how their power works. These people committed to bringing about the end of the world, Armageddon, destruction, the rebuilding of the Third Temple, the massacre, genocide, and ethnic cleansing of Palestinian women and children, right? Like, they use sexual abuse as leverage. We know that from Jeffrey Epstein. And before Epstein, there was Meyer Lansky. And before Lansky, there was Louis Rosenstiel. This is how they operate. So if you've been paying attention, if you are based and red-pilled on the issues surrounding Israel, this shouldn't really surprise you. And I wish it did. I wish that this was surprising. It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. But it gets even worse. It gets even more tragic. It gets even more fucked up. Because Paul responded to this tweet on Facebook. We'll pull it up. Here's his statement. Being aware of the recent allegations made against me and against Candlelight, I have chosen to delay commenting until now. To protect the privacy and well-being of my daughter, my wife, and our other children, and our Candlelight family, I will not offer a detailed response to numerous egregious false accusations and misrepresentations that are circling. Still, silence can be misread even where accusations are unfounded, and I feel something must be said. I deeply love my daughter and continue to pray for her restoration. My private text to her, now public, was not an admission of guilt, but an attempt to minister to her in her hurts and grievances. I've sought to lead my family and this church with grace and sincerity. I remain committed to leading well. Note that the majority of what's being alleged involves pastors and ministries not under my authority. What? And thus I cannot offer further comment or explanation as they do not pertain to Candlelight. I've remained diligent in safeguarding both my home and the Candlelight congregation. Moreover, we conduct background checks with all those who work with children or serve in leadership. Leadership often brings scrutiny, spins, and mischaracterizations are among those of us who take a strong stand for things of truth and conscience. My home is safe. My life is in order. We will not be bullied. We will not be silent. We will not bow. Buddy, who do you think that you're bowing to? Your daughter publicly accused you of covering up sexual abuse against her in your home by Jacob Saldana, and that you covered it up, and that there's an ongoing pattern of covering this type of stuff up. That's not bullying. That's not like, oh, you got to be silent. We will not bow. What planet are you on? What reality do you think you live in that this is your response? And what's even more sickening is the people commenting on it. Like, there are hundreds and hundreds of these comments all coming out to support Paul. All coming out in support of the guy that covered up the abuse of his own daughter. And so there are some comments here that I'm going to pull up. And I'm not going to get into all the back and forth on this, okay? There has been a lot of back and forth between Paul Van Noy's daughter making these allegations, Paul responding, his daughter's husband then responding to the response, and then back and forth and back. And I'm not getting into all that. I really don't care. You know, I have issues with Candlelight, no doubt about it. I was pretty upset when Paul condemned me from the pulpit as an anti-Semite that is opposed to everything that God stands for. I was pretty upset about that, especially because it caused me to lose my election in 2021 for a post-fall school board. But I forgave him. We had meetings after that. I tried to work with these people because they are so involved politically. You can't get anything done in local politics without getting these fucking Zionists to sign off on it. Their priorities are so out of whack, they believe that what happens in Israel is more important than what happens in our own backyard. They think that expelling the Palestinians and bringing the third temple back and sacrificing the red heifer, and that all of these things are going to bring about like an imminent rapture, that Jesus will come back, the battle of Armageddon, the destruction of the entire earth. Right? That's what they think. That's where their priorities are. And so, like, if you want to do something in local politics, like, I don't know, handling illegal immigration, handling drug stuff, handling sex trafficking in Coeur d'Alene at these massage parlors. If you want to get any of these political people to do something, one way or another, you're going to run into these people at Candlelight, and you need to get their sign off. Like what we saw in the last election, where the conservative candidate, Debbie Loffman, lost by just a couple of hundred votes, maybe 500 votes. She lost to Dan Gukin because Gukin was supported by Candlelight. So there will be no reform in Coeur d'Alene. That is liberal territory. They've got control of it. They will be imminently, they will be exhuming the body, the decomposed, decaying body of Richard Butler. They will prop him up on the back of a truck, give him a swastika flag, and parade it up and down Sherman Avenue. They will be crying and screaming that the days of the Aryan nations are here again. And we need to criminalize anti-Semitism, and we need to put these podcasters in jail. That's like where we're going. And so all of that to say that I really don't give a shit about Candlelight. What I do care about is the people that go to Candlelight that have been brainwashed and programmed and pushed into this thinking that we need to bring about the end of the world, the rapture. We need to support Israel no matter how many children they kill. We need to support Israel no matter how many billions of dollars a year that we have to send them in aid. We must support Israel, even though Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking children to blackmail U.S. representatives on their behalf. We need to support Israel unconditionally, right? That's how these people think. That's the issue that I have with Candlelight. Now, there are a lot of other people out there that have issues with Candlelight. One of them is this guy, Dan Wilson. I'm sure he's going to pop right up on my feed every time I open Facebook. This guy comes up, Dan Wilson. Let me pull him up. And so, oh no, I forgot I have to. It's the Idaho sheriff. I'm sorry. My bad. He ran for sheriff, lost, and then is continuing to do his podcast as the Idaho sheriff. Listen, I don't really like this guy. He ain't one of us. And I'm sure that he's going to be very happy that I said that. You know, like, he's basically a libertarian, maybe. Okay, so, like, for example, Dan Wilson thinks that elections for mayor and city council should be nonpartisan. You should not have Republican or Democrat after your name, and the Republican Party should not endorse candidates in these nonpartisan races. That's what Dan thinks. That's his position. He's stated that clearly. I completely disagree. It's fucking stupid. Everything is politicized. Everything is partisan in this country, in this world. Ben and Jerry's ice cream is politicized, okay? Everything is political. And so the idea that the Republican Party shouldn't weigh in on the local mayor and city council races because they're nonpartisan is stupid. It's just stupid. You know, and plus this guy, he's been out there accusing me of being an FBI agent. He calls me Agent Tiki, all this stuff. So I don't really care. Go watch his stuff. Go check out his Facebook. It's at the Idaho Sheriff. He's kind of dumb. And listen, if he'll have me on his podcast, I'll go on. I don't mind. I don't mind talking to anyone. So, but he's got a real axe to grind with Candlelight. And so he is following up on this story like nobody's business. If you want all of the he said, she said, the tit for tat, well, Danielle tweeted this and Paul tweeted that and blah, 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 blah. If you want all that back and forth, go to this guy. He will give you everything you're looking for. I actually think he's doing a live stream tonight. Some new victim has come forward, I guess. But anyway, So I'm just putting that out there, that I'm not going to be engaging in all of this back and forth. I read the first couple, but what's shocking to me, what's absolutely shocking to me with this scandal, with the allegations, the revelation that Paul covered up, allegedly, the sexual abuse of his own daughter in his own home, the thing that freaks me out, the thing that bothers me the most, is the response of his congregation. They came out, love you, Paul, praying for you, Paul. Amen, Pastor Paul. Paul, you're so strong. If you weren't a threat, sorry you're going through this. We love you, blah, 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 all of this stuff. And so some of the more troubling quotes that are out there, I'll put here. This is from somebody named Jackie Huff, who very correctly said, this is absolutely sickening. That they have Awanas there, right? Awana is this Christian youth group, like Boy Scout alternative. They have Awana there too, and my children used to go to the skate rink every week. I remember Pastor Van Noy saying years ago publicly that his daughter was pregnant and it was by rape, but because of the rumors spreading around the church, it was that she was being immoral, that she left the church because of it. Now, I wasn't here for that, but if that's true, that is so profoundly fucked up. That his daughter gets raped and is impregnated, and then they spread rumors that it's because she's immoral? Like, I'm not making this up. You have a problem with this, go talk to Jackie Huff and figure out what she's talking about here. But this is fucked up beyond. And then there's this. Hold on, let's getting all mixed up here. Where did the info? This is from Erin Bernard, by the way, very political. She's very. Women should not be involved in politics. This woman should not be involved in politics. She's very upset with me. She's always been upset with me. She's a liar, all this stuff. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Erin Bernard, we've talked about her before. Her husband's the tattoo artist that does all the satanic tattoos. Anyway, where did this info come from, and what do you do to verify? What angst is this supposed to cause? Just as a general statement, there are plenty of pastors who have covered up dismissed sexual abuse amongst their membership. My own mother was sexually abused as a child by a member of a church, and the pastor was made aware and did nothing. So to hear about this and take a side when none of you were even there, that's dangerous territory. There's a biblical way to handle these things, and this isn't it. It could be hyperbolic, or it could be legit. It appears that any time Candlelight Christian Fellowship is brought up, it's vociferously defended, regardless of the validity of the accusation or inference. I think that is the impetus of this guy's statement. And now, in the wake of all of this stuff coming out, there's just like a flood of information about Paul Van Noy and people making allegations. This one comes from his brother-in-law, Daniel Harder, who says, "You want to know more? Contact me. I am Brenda's brother, Paul's brother-in-law. I've been in this battle since the 70s. Know much." What do you know, bud? Lay it out. This is crazy. And then you get people like this guy, Jeremy Morris. People, consider the source. A daughter who has openly lived an ungodly lifestyle, lecturing the public about her father's alleged transgressions. No, a daughter does not get to live a totally unrepentant lifestyle and then target her father for character assassination. Once again, what planet did I wake up on? We have a young lady who alleges that she was sexually abused when she was 13 years old. And the people at Paul's church are coming out to cast aspersions on her and call her immoral? Well, how do you think you would behave if you were sexually assaulted when you were 13? I don't know many people that go through things like that wind up normal on the other side. Unbelievable. And this isn't the only comment like this. There's hundreds of comments like this. Consider the source, who's tweeting about this, who's amplifying this. This is Dave Reilly's fault. Dave Reilly, he shared these posts. He's the problem, not Paul. Really? Really? Then there are some other comments that have come out of this whole thing, like this one from Debbie Fashi, who said, Paul, you destroyed my life and I lost everything. You accused me falsely of something I did not do. Your family is out of control. Don't pretend you're the perfect person or family. You're not. You know, and then there's this stuff here with this woman, Shelley Kroll. You're just being contentious. Who's behind this page, Dave? And it's like, why am I being mentioned at all here? Paul Van Noy's daughter accused Paul of covering up sexual abuse in his church. Not sure what your deal is, but covering up perversion isn't a good look. And trying to deflect by pointing at me only makes you people look crazier, which it does. And there's other stuff too. I remember there was, I think I've got it over here. Yeah. If your pastor gets accused of covering up child sex abuse and your first reaction is to cry about Israel, your discernment is shattered beyond repair. Hey, get out of here. I'm recording. If your pastor gets accused of covering up sex abuse and your first reaction is to cry about Israel, your discernment is shattered beyond repair. And so this comes from a response on Paul's post from Sandy Muse Brewer, who said, like, unprovoked, the Bible says that those that are against Israel will perish and be destroyed. That's why we need to protect Israel. And then someone with their head on straight goes, I'm curious, what does Israel have to do with church pastors abusing kids? Is there a connection? I think we should protect children. Can we get Chandra George, like, a treat? Can we get her a cookie? Fuck yeah. I mean, imagine. Your pastor gets accused of covering up sex abuse, and your very first thought is, oh, but what about Israel? I'm really beside myself. And this is the problem. This is why these people are dangerous. They're dangerous because they're willing to kill women and children in Gaza. They're dangerous because they're willing to look the other way on sexual abuse, whether it's in their church or whether it's Jeffrey Epstein. These people are dangerous because their priorities are out of whack. That's my issue with this whole thing. I don't really give a shit that Paul condemned me from the pulpit. I don't care that he threw my election. You know, the issue is the priorities are wrong. And it's what's wrong with this country. And it's why we haven't been able to put America first. It's why we're seeing resolution after resolution, law after law, article after article about anti-Semitism, supporting Israel and all of this stuff. That's the problem. Like, if you personally are a Zionist and you want to go donate your money and time to Israel, fine. Like, I really don't care. But if you're going to get involved in our political framework and you're going to be pressuring and leveraging our politicians, then, like, I don't want you to be the kind of person that would cover up sex abuse, like, at a bare minimum. And so the fact that Paul isn't resigning over this is... that should tell you everything. You know, I mean, what the fuck? I don't even have words for this. I've tried talking about this with some of my friends, and like, I'm just at a loss for words. You covered up the sexual abuse of your own daughter. It gets made public. Everybody knows about it. And then you're going to what? get up on stage and cast aspersions at your own daughter? Well, actually, that's what happened. Believe it or not. And we've got the clip. Here's the clip. I am beside myself.
If you had visited Candlelight Christian Fellowship on November 23rd, 2025, you might have helped yourself to a free donut, sipped some complimentary coffee, listened to Pastor Paul Van Noy teaching from the Bible, and not realized there was a deeper context behind that morning sermon. In the days leading up to that service, on Thursday, November 20th, 2025, Danielle stated that she had been the victim of sexual abuse, and Pastor Paul Van Noy failed to protect her, concealed the abuse, and sided with the predator. With that backdrop, we fast forward to the Sunday morning sermon.
I must tell you, I wrote these notes 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Sure.
If you're a parent, you know how hard it is if you have a child that's not doing well. Did Paul have a scorned child? Did Paul have a child that had gone in a direction that was unpleasing to him, to the Lord? A strained relationship? Look, I have to tell you again, I wrote these notes 3 weeks ago. I must tell you, I wrote these notes 3 or 4 weeks ago. Look, I have to tell you again, I wrote these notes 3 weeks ago, and the timing of the Lord is amazing to me. But I have to say this, my friends, you, all of you, know this. I have to tell you that I know, even in our own church, many, many families that say, I have a child that has gone away from us. They've changed their worldviews or whatever it is. Is it possible that that was Paul's thorn in the flesh? I don't know.
Okay.
Paul Van Noy used leverage.
Hold on a second. Time out. So I hate to just keep going over this again. His daughter comes out, accuses him of covering up. He puts out a statement. Then he gets up on the pulpit, and then he takes 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 12 is the verse that he's looking at here, where he's talking about there's a thorn in my side. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Yeah. Here it is, 6. For though I should have a mind to glory, I shall not be foolish, for I'll say the truth, but I forbear lest any man should think of me above that which he seeth in me, or anything that he heareth from me, and lest the greatness of the revelation should exalt me, there was given to me a sting of my flesh, an angel of Satan to buffet me. In his translation, that says a thorn in the side or whatever. So he's giving a exegesis of 2 Corinthians 12, and he uses that as an opportunity to throw his daughter under the bus. And I'm not the only one that thinks that, by the way. Someone that goes to Candlelight thinks that and did a whole podcast about it. Here's that.
Now, like I said, man, I went to church this morning and you would not believe what Paul said. I left that place. My mind was absolutely blown with what he said. So I'm going to try to make this short. He preached on Paul's thorn in the flesh. Okay. And, Paul's talking about having a thorn in the flesh, and he's pleading with God about, how to get rid of it. And he was preached a little bit on Romans chapter 7, where Paul says that I do, I don't want to do, and that what I don't do, that's what I do. And that whole line, that whole narrative there where Paul's like, oh, what a wretched man I am, and bringing the glory of God, and brought in scriptures like, I will rejoice in persecution, or I wish I had the verses. I should have been a little bit better prepared, but you get the gist of it. If you just think about the thorn in the flesh, that will drive this home. And he went through, nobody knows what the thorn in Paul's flesh was. Okay. They speculate it could have been his health. It could have been his finances. It could have been, all kinds of things. But it's vague. And Paul goes through some things. For example, finances can be a thorn in the flesh. It could be a demon. It could be all these things. What is it? What is it? And Paul actually, and this got some laughs. He said, "Could it be an ex-wife? Is that the thorn in your flesh?" And that's classic Paul Vanoy, man. He just says stuff off the cuff, and you think about it, you go, "Yeah, I guess that could be." But a lot of things could be. And then he says, and this is the bomb that he dropped today. Could it be your offspring? I was just like, what did he just do? That was his response. So he basically said that his offspring right now is a thorn in his flesh. Ugh. It was savage. It was like a total boss move. That's Paul. That's what you get with Paul. And I didn't know how to take it at first. I was like, he just threw his kid under the bus. That's kind of how I looked at it. And then I thought,
bro, I can't be the only one, right? You see this too, don't you? You see what's going on here. Are you sickened by it? Does it disgust you like it disgusts me? Using and perverting the Bible to throw your sexually abused daughter under the bus? I can't be the only one. Unbelievable. And just to drive this home a little bit, I went to, because us Catholics, we have tradition. We can go back and we can look at what the fathers and the doctors of the church wrote about these scriptures and how they interpreted it, which might be like a little bit more reliable than, I don't know, some guy that gets up on stage and throws his kids under the bus and blames everybody in anti-Semitism for his kid, getting sexually abused or whatever the hell's going on. So I decided to go and take a look at what St. Thomas Aquinas wrote about this. And here it is highlighted in yellow. He says, that he's had these revelations, or a thorn in the flesh, i.e., a concupiscence arising from the flesh because he was troubled a great deal. Quote, "For I do not the good that I want, but the evil I do not wish is that which I do," blah, blah, blah. That thorn, I say, is a messenger of Satan or a wicked angel. For it was an angel sent by God or permitted, but it was Satan's because Satan's intention was to subvert, but God is to humble and render approved, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, a thorn in the flesh, according to itself, is to be avoided as troublesome, but inasmuch as it is a means to virtue and an exercise of virtue, it should be desired. But because the secret of divine providence, namely that it would turn out to his advantage, Paul's advantage, it had not been revealed to him yet. And the apostle considered that in itself was bad for him. But God, who had ordained this to the good of his humility, did not oblige him as far as he wished he was concerned, blah, blah, blah. So, we can go and, check. We can go back. We can go look hey, Thomas, St. Thomas Aquinas, what did you say about 2 Corinthians? Was it his finances? Was it his family? Was it an ex-wife? Was it his daughter? No. That's not the interpretation of this passage. That's what a crazy guy on stage is using and leveraging to disparage his own daughter so that he can stay in power to wield his political influence for a foreign country. That's what this is. Holy shit. Anyway, this is crazy. And so we've got a guy in charge here, and of course all the associate pastors and all the other people that work there, Stephanie Fetzer's daughter, allegations of sexual misconduct at the skating rink in the pastor's home by other people affiliated with the church, and nothing is happening. No one's resigning. No one's getting fired. Everybody is just, yes, sir, yes, sir. And it's this is the problem. This is the whole problem. It's not just the problem with Candlelight or in North Idaho. It's the whole problem of this whole country, that we are falling apart, that our economic system is falling apart, Employment is awful. We don't manufacture anything here anymore. The system is financialized, and it's on a razor's edge. It's about to fall apart. There's an article here that shows that the real poverty line is $140,000. This is a real problem in this country, right? These are the real problems in this country. And people like Paul, people like the guys at Candlelight Christian Church, they care only about Israel. They care only about bringing in the age of apocalypse. It's unbelievable. And there's some more here. We're gonna transition because there's some other things that I wanted to talk about here, other than just this goofy scandal with Paul Van Noy. And one of those things is these issues that we're dealing with in this country that are being completely ignored by the boomer class. This is from a podcast that I really like called TFTC, hosted by Marty Bent. He recently had Honest Pollster on. He works for Rasmussen Polling. And here's what he had to say.
That I like Walmart's. I think Walmart's engineering is over 60% foreign national now. Biggest company in the U.S. by revenue, and over 60%. And that's a national security threat if you think about it too. This is happening at Google. It's happening at Amazon. It's happening at Microsoft. It's happening at most of the banking industries have given their technology over to the rest of the country. And the Republicans are like, sweet, this is great. My donors love it. And again, it's a popular program. But anybody who's touched it, who's tried to get a resume through an HR Karen, like just knows that this is manipulated. These people lie on resumes. And so when Trump comes out and he uses billionaire talking points to defend the program, that's like the biggest failure of not understanding the core base and their needs. And unfortunately for them, they don't like to acknowledge the fact that a lot of their core base is young men under 40 who have been the doormat of society for the last 10 years. They've literally been pariahs. They've been political pariahs. And the Republican Party won't embrace those people. They'll turn their backs on those people because of like some stuff about Israel. And it's like, that's the problem. Like you're going to lose. There's going to be major political upheaval because these people are still being driven to extremist situations. And, you talked about the horseshoe theory of politics is a real thing on the right. This one's wild. It'll blow your mind.
So here we got a guy that actually does polling. He does opinion polling. One of the only ones that isn't on the payroll of either the Republican or the Democrat Party. He's pointing out the issues that we're having of H-1Bs, of foreign nationals driving these trucks, murdering people on the highways. The economy's imploding. There's an AI tech bubble. These are real issues. And then Donald Trump comes out with oligarch billionaire talking points. And then the youth, people like me, people under 40, people like you, are then expelled from the Republican Party because we don't agree on Israel. That's what he said. He's a pollster. He's a professional. He's not some goofy extremist podcaster living in North Idaho. He had a meeting with Donald Trump last week. Anyway, go watch this podcast. Very enlightening. Highly recommend that you subscribe to TFTC21 on Twitter. But this is a real issue. These are real issues. There was another podcast that came out recently with Eric Kasson. I don't know how to say his name.
The people in this country.
Oops, this is an interesting clip. Because again, it's getting to the heart of the issue. And the whole reason for this podcast, the Backlash, the reason that we have it is because the real issues are not being dealt with in this country. Because the people who lead our country are more concerned about Israel and about big businesses, big corporations, putting profit before people. This is the problem. This is why there is going to be a backlash against the Republican Party, against Donald Trump, because nobody in Washington, D.C. is listening to the young men of this country. That's what's happening. And here's another example.
The people in this country that are under 40 are going to realize that, like, your parents' generation sold you out, and they did it for them to get lower interest rates, for them to get free Social Security, and for them to get better healthcare than you will ever have access to.
Yeah.
And not only should you be outraged, but you should be organizing in a meaningful way that's actually going to do something about it.
Yeah.
But until people actually achieve the courage to do that and realize that the Republicans nor the Democrats neither have any plausible solution, and both are fundamentally guilty of the same problem.
Yeah.
And until we find that third way between the two, there's no possible answer.
I do agree with you with all of this stuff. I think that Zoomers are really pissed off. They took away their YouTube guy, and I think people are fundamentally misunderstanding sort of Fuentes and Groypers and why they're so pissed off and why they're being such a thorn, particularly on the conservative side, on
Absolutely.
the Republican side. I don't see that dissipating anytime soon. I think that people need to be a little bit more understanding of where it's coming from and not what it's saying, and like, you know, bad words being thrown around. Like the anger, I think, for younger generations, particularly American males, is, you know, becoming palpable.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and that
young
can either
American
be a very
males,
good thing
like,
or a very bad thing. Like, you know,
I find it very interesting about, I feel really bad for young American males. Like, you're the pieces of shit. You're the problems to everything. You don't deserve fair education. You don't deserve fair rights. Anybody abuses or takes advantage of you, it's your own fault. You guys hate women. You guys hate minorities. And you don't deserve to have equality because all the generations before you somehow robbed everybody else. So you're to be punished for it.
Yeah.
Like these are the very elements that in Weimar Germany in the 1920s created for the very
socialism
exact
or fascism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like it's very scary to me how for some reason we seem to be so thoughtless about understanding history. And I mean, like, maybe that's just a general affect of the thoughtlessness of society in general, but like within the next
I mean, listen. This is what happens when people don't know their history. Right? Because if you ask the Candlelight people, if you ask these boomer Republicans about World War II, they're going to say that we fought World War II to stop the Holocaust because Hitler was a freak and he was crazy and he was killing Jews and we had to stop it. That's what boomers think World War II was about. They're wrong. They have no earthly idea what World War II was about, or the political situation in Germany, Italy, Romania, Spain, France. They don't have any clue that what we're living through today, transgenderism, homosexuality, degeneracy, drug abuse, off the charts. And it got so out of control and so lawless that they needed a strong man to come in and take control of the country. That's what World War II was about. That's what started this. The Bolshevik Revolution, these revolutionary people that hate God, they hated the king, they hated the established order, they were anarchists, they were willing to kill anybody, they murdered women and children and priests in the streets. And the people of Spain and France and Germany and Italy and Romania and England, they were all crying out for someone to restore order, for someone to stop it, for someone to fix the actual problems that they had in their country. Don't believe me? Read this book. Read The Last Crusade by Warren Carroll. Don't believe me? Read Hitler's War by David Irving. Read some real history sometime. Figure out what was going on. Figure out what time it is in America, where we're headed as a country. The number one issue is not Israel. It is not supporting the Jewish state. It is not combating anti-Semitism. The number one problem is that young American white men can't get jobs. They can't build families. They can't buy houses. They can't afford medical care. Most Americans don't even have $500 in the bank. The new line of poverty is $140,000 using the metrics from 1963. Those are the real problems in this country. And these are the issues that are not being addressed by the Republican Party. They're not being addressed by anybody in Washington, D.C., and they're not being addressed because people like Paul Van Noy have a stranglehold on politics. And because people like you and me have been alienated, defamed, lied about, and pushed out of polite society. Are you listening? Do you hear the backlash coming? Because nothing stops this. Look what happened in New York with Mamdani. Look at the polling numbers. Donald Trump's approval rating is cratering in Republican states. It's not good. It is not good. And here we are arguing with a self-proclaimed prophet about whether or not it's okay that he covered up the sexual abuse of his daughter. Like, what? I feel like I live in crazy world. But this is the situation. This is what is happening in our community. And it's not just in our community. These sexual abuse cover-up things in the evangelical church and these Zionist churches is rampant. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. All you got to do is a little digging. And it comes up, and it is ugly. Ugly. And so anyway, those are some of the thoughts that I had for you. You know what? There was one other thing that happened, and I don't really have a tweet about it. I'm not going to pull it up either. But there was this issue, right? There was this issue that came out a couple days ago on Twitter about people promoting a gambling website, right? There was some gambling website that was willing to do some advertising with people like Sam Parker and Jake Shields and some friends of the show, some people that I'm personally friends with. And you know, it's hard. For those of us that have been canceled and have had a hard time making a living, that are struggling financially, economically, it's difficult, okay? And somebody comes to you and says, we're going to pay you money to promote something on Twitter. I understand it. So I'm not going to hold it against them. I'm not going to say that it's disgusting that they were promoting gambling. I'm opposed to gambling. I would not promote gambling. But listen, I wanted to take a moment to thank the people that sponsor our podcast, because we don't have to do that here. And I'm very happy about that. We don't have to resort, I guess, to taking money from gambling websites. And not only that, I wanted to reiterate that all of the people that sponsor our show, all of the people that we have affiliate deals with and that we promote, like I would, and I do, like all the time, like I don't have a deal with Knick Knack, but I think they're the best nicotine things ever. I love them. They're not paying me to say that. I've tried to get them to pay me to say that. They said no. But they're run by a Catholic family in Spokane. Great company. Love them. But the real sponsors, getting real with you, the real sponsors of this show are very supportive. They've been great along the way. They do not dictate what we talk about on this show. They have never interfered in our commentary. They've never told us what we can and can't criticize. And not only that, but like these are products that I use myself, that Blonde uses, that Cameron, he's off doing whatever he's doing. But when it comes to like North Idaho Tallow Company, we promote them all the time. They make soap, skincare, lip balms, candles, and it is the best soap I have ever used. Hands down, I love it. I use it. I used to have like an issue here on my elbow. I don't know if you can, I used to have like a dry patch here. I've got a scar from it. And as soon as I started using this soap, that stopped, okay? Not saying it'll heal you, that would be illegal, but North Idaho Tallow Company supports this show. They make great products. I would promote them for free. They're wonderful. Thank you, North Idaho Tallow Company. Atlas Bullion, they're great. I've bought gold and silver from them. They have some of the best prices from an online dealer. They're great. Now, what I will say is with the subscriptions, right? They've got a silver subscription from as low as $55 a month, gold subscriptions from as low as $200 a month. What I will say is, and I don't think Kenzie would be upset about this, when you buy gold in small denominations, less than an ounce, the premium of that gold goes up. So like, let's say a gram of gold, you'll pay like $150 for it. But if you go to a pawn shop to sell it, they might give you like $120. It's the premium. There's a premium on top of the actual value of gold. So if you buy an ounce of gold in grams, you'll spend $5,500 on an ounce, even though it's only like $4,100 for an ounce of gold. You'll overpay for the smaller denomination, okay? So some people have been like, oh, well, their prices or whatever. It's because of the premiums. If you want to like get the most bang for your buck, call Kenzie and arrange a $100,000 order, a $250,000 order, whatever. They can do that. They can handle that kind of volume. They're a very good bullion dealer. I like them. They're not scammers. And value aligned. I don't know what else to say. That was probably like the worst commercial ever. But I don't know what you want me to say. We're heading into a financial tumultuous situation. You want to have gold and silver. So visit our friends at atlasbullion.com/backlash. I've also got to give a big shout out to Antelope Hill Publishing. These guys have brought forth so many old books that have never been translated before in English. They just brought back Nuremberg, The Last Battle by David Irving, The Culture of Critique by Kevin MacDonald. They just published the 3rd edition of it. Absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of great books at Antelope Hill Publishing that are inspiring. I remember reading a couple of years ago, they put out some of Leon Degrelle's poetry about fighting on the Eastern Front in World War II. And it'll make you cry. It's so beautiful, the patriotism that these people had to fight for their country, to fight for God, to fight for Christ. The same as like with this book, The Last Crusade by Warren Carroll. You know, when you hear about the situation in their countries, how far they had gone, and the visceral hatred of God and of the church and of orderly society that the revolutionaries had, it's inspiring stuff. So anyway, visit Antelope Hill Publishing. Great books there. We're not done yet. We're shilling hard here. Got to give a big shout out to ODGG Supply. They are a this is what happens when I don't do stuff with a script. They are a military surplus company. Let's go to their catalog real quick. They've got APE-approved gear. They've got like long johns, ponchos. They've got these wool blankets, backpacks, sleeping bags, sunglasses, all kinds of stuff, anything that you might need in a pinch. And listen, if you live in a city, you go to work in a city, what happens if there's like a collapse or another George Floyd situation and you can't get on the highway because a bunch of leftist thugs have blocked it off? Do you have a bug-out bag in your car that you can use to get home to your wife and kids? Are you prepared for a tumultuous situation if you live in a city? Well, if you're not, go to odggsupply.com. They've got everything that you need, and they support this show, and we love them, and they're great. Also, got to give a big shout out to Above Time Coffee Roasters. They make wonderful small batch hand roasted coffee, and it's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I've been drinking the blonde Nordic roast or whatever, this one here, and it's been fantastic. We've got the Italian roast that we're going to be starting up on soon once we run out, but you can also get, stickers, T-shirts, a French press. That's at abovetimecoffee.com. But wait, there's even more. Our friends over at oneacreiowa.com, they make beef snacks, and they've got honey that are just delicious. These beef snacks are made with all organic, grass-fed beef, and they are tasty and delicious and a great source of protein. It's wonderful to give to the kids. They can snack on it on a long car ride, and keeps everything pretty quiet. And last but not least, our friends at Blockstream are having a huge holiday sale, 21% off their hardware Bitcoin wallets. And by the way, the Blockstream Jade Plus, I've got one myself. I use it. They're fantastic. It's open source. So there's no tricks. You can go through and audit the code yourself. It's got a built-in camera. The whole thing operates totally air-gapped. So if you're worried about your phone being Pegasus, or if there's someone watching what you're doing on your phone or on your computer, you can be assured that this is working in a way that does not touch the internet. Your private keys are never exposed. Open source, auditable software that is completely air-gapped. And it's 21% off. And if you buy it, we get a little kickback. We get like 10% of the sale paid to us in Bitcoin. It's how we pay for some of the servers that we use. We do appreciate it. They've also got satellite kits, which is interesting. People are always, oh, well, what happens if the internet cuts out? We won't be able to use Bitcoin anymore. That's where you're wrong. There's a satellite in space beaming the blockchain down to us. They've got a satellite kit that you can set up, and you can get on-chain. You can get all of the data that you need to run your own Bitcoin node without the internet through our friends at Blockstream. And again, all the sales that they make on their store go to us. Not all of the sales that they make. We get like 5% or 10% or whatever commission. So they've got some cool shirts too. And that's it. I'm done shilling. But I just listen. There is a problem in this country. The problem is the economy. The problem is that the money is fake. The money is fiat. We don't have a gold-backed currency. 1971, sayonara gold. And we went to this fiat money system. And this fiat money system is what is making everything go wonky. This is what happened in Weimar, Germany. They had fiat money, and they had to bring wheelbarrows of cash to the store to buy loaves of bread. That's what's happening. And we're living through a time when we may be very close to a situation where everybody's wealth gets wiped out. If your money is in the stock market, in the banking system, and something happens and it collapses, imagine an entire 5 generations of wealth getting wiped out. That's what happened in Germany. That's what happened in Spain and Italy before World War II. That's what people were dealing with. That's what we're dealing with in this country today. And that's why these Zionist Republicans need to move the fuck aside, stand back, stand down, and let the young white guys back into the party. Let us have a seat at the table, because we're the ones that are bearing the brunt of this. These boomers have their 401ks and like Paul Van Noy has 3 houses and a timeshare in Hawaii on a salary of $85,000 a year at Candlelight. I don't know anyone that owns their own home in my young friend group. Everyone's renting. Everyone's renting because it's impossible to buy a home if you're a guy under 40 years old. The economy is fucked. Anyway, thank you to the sponsors. Thank you for the super chats and all of the support and the donations that you guys have sent. We couldn't do this without you, and we're just getting started. We're just getting started. This is just the beginning, because we're going to be talking with a lot of interesting people coming up. We're going to be moving in a particular direction, creating fraternal networks. That is the next phase of this whole thing, is finding your neighbors, finding your friends, building something around you that can help protect and step up in one of these moments of collapse. If something, God forbid, goes wrong with the country, if there is crisis, if there is a lack of order, you don't want to be alone. You don't want to be isolated. You don't want to be scrolling on twitter.com wondering what's going on. You want to have friends that you can call. You want to know who your neighbors are. And that's a big part of what this show is about, is getting a solution, finding ways to connect and to reach out with other like-minded people that correctly see what's happening in this country and want to do something to fix it. And, you know, it's going to be difficult to force change top down because of the grip that the Zionist lobby has on our president, on our government, on our politics. We're going to have to look out for ourselves, look out for each other. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do here at the Backlash. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant. I don't plan these things out. I'm not like Rebecca. I don't write up a script and, work off of that. This is stream of consciousness. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I said something that resonated. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like these? Do you not like these? Do you just want me to shut the fuck up? Do you want me to quit the show? Tell me all about it in the comment section. I will read your comments. And once again, thank you for watching. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us on Twitter, that you visit our website, thebacklash.net. All of our affiliate links are there. Support us on Subscribestar, Patreon. Send us super chats when you can. Make sure you're following us on Rumble. And thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you all have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. We're going to be back with a show on December 3rd. No show December 1st. December 3rd, we got a great show for you about marriage and family that we pre-recorded. And then we will be back into it full bore on December 8th. And we're going to be going nuts. So thank you all for tuning in. God bless you and God keep you. Have a good day. Or night. I guess it's nighttime. Bye.